Good evening and welcome to Manchester United 702 Red Devil Chat. This will be our first opening discussion to tell you about what we're going to talk about today. We're just a fan channel from the United States. With me today is Jay, and I am your host, Ryland. We're just some fans out here in Las Vegas, Nevada, United States, speaking on the Manchester United team chat, talking about what's going on, who do we play, how's the team doing, all things related to topics on message boards and everything else everybody's thinking about, I'm sure. So, first thing we're going to get into is how's the team doing. We just finished up the Europa League game. Who did we play this week?
We played AC Milan.
AC Milan,
And
that's right.
Yes, gave up a heartbreaker with like the last kick of the game.
Yeah, that was tough. I saw most of the game and had to rewatch it later. I didn't think we were really going to win that game, to be honest.
I don't think we deserved to.
Yeah, I don't think we deserved to.
It went to. But it looked like we were going to, which we've gotten pretty good at, winning games 1-0 where we didn't really look great. And so I wasn't surprised that we gave up that late goal. Like Manchester United's famous for doing that to other teams, right?
Yes, that's true.
But the last 5-6 years, I feel like I'm watching a game and I'm just waiting for it to happen. Like I just feel
it's the opposite of
happen.
Fergie time.
Yeah, it's opposite Fergie time. Like we had all those years of beating people with the last kick of the game, and now it's coming back to us, and we're like giving up game winners and giving up draws the last second.
And that was damn near the last kick of the game too, like
really,
you said. I mean, when I saw that, I was extremely frustrated. I don't know. It's hard. I'd assume that was probably Dino's fault a little bit. I mean, it's tough when we're trying to figure out which goalkeeper to play more.
Well, I mean, we didn't have an option since De Gea went back to Spain and he's just recently come back and he's going to be on quarantine for a little bit. I mean, we had to start Dean Henderson, and he had 2 shutouts, 2 clean sheets the games prior.
Against City, too,
and
no less.
One of them was a huge game, so props to that. But, I mean, I'm no goalkeeper, but I believe that he should have saved that. For sure, it was right at him. I don't know why he's falling down, but then again, like I said, I'm not a goalkeeper. But should they have gotten a shot off to begin with? Maybe the marking could have been better. Maybe not give up the corner kick to begin with. I mean, there's lots of things, and it's easy to just blame goalkeepers when goals go in. But when you're Manchester United's keeper and you're trying to be the new number one, you got to make that save.
I agree. I will say this: watching the game again, I thought that Dino had a lot of shots on him. I think that there could have been a couple other opportunities for scoring. In fact, there were goals in the net that got taken back. There was the first offsides goal that was a nice run. Frank Kessie had the turn on the ball for a throw-in, which I'll tell you what, fans seem excited about him. Maybe we should bring him to Man U after that.
I'd take him over Madic or Fred or any of those.
He looked pretty good. I'll tell you what. I thought he was a striker for half the game for how he was bossing the field.
He was tearing our midfield up, which was a major problem in that game. When you're supposed to play out on your front foot and you're playing with Madic and McTominay in the middle of the field, and neither one of them have an offensive bone in their body, regardless of the fact that McTominay has scored some goals.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think
he's not an offensive talent. He's just not.
I can definitely agree. Fred is not an offensive talent. That guy
he wasn't in the
shoot.
game. I couldn't blame him.
Fred can't shoot to save his life, and God forbid it's his right foot. It's not going to be a good shot at all. But Scott McTominay, I feel like he's had some moments. He makes some good runs. I've heard people talking about replacing with Grealish, which we'll get to a little bit later. But
would love it, please.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I feel like our midfield definitely has some issues lacking. I mean, let's start with this. How bad are we missing Paul Pogba right now?
I didn't think that would be the case at the beginning of this season. I didn't think that we would miss Paul Pogba like this, but it's. If he was playing and he hadn't gotten injured this last injury, we were flying. And so was he. He was playing great, scoring goals, leading the team. And it seemed like things had kind of made a turn for the better. And maybe, he's finally buying into things and he's enjoying his soccer a little bit better.
And he was happy here.
But then he gets injured. And I don't know if the guy's made of glass or what, but when he goes out with an injury, it's like 6 months.
Yeah, there's something up with that. Him and Eric Bailly just seem like they just can't play more than a couple weeks before they get injured. Well, Eric's a little different. I mean, I feel for that guy. I think he should be our starting center back.
You definitely should be. I totally agree with that. I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit later, maybe when we talk about transfers, but I just read an article today that they have opened contract negotiations with Eric Bailly for a contract extension to stay longer.
That'll be interesting.
A lot of the talk was that he was going to be leaving, or he couldn't cut it or whatever. But I think probably what's going to happen, it looks like, is we're going to get rid of Lindelof or
really
cut ties with him because he can't stay healthy. And that's not his fault either. But even if they were healthy, I would prefer to pair Maguire with Bailly than with Lindelof. Because Lindelof and Harry Maguire are the same person.
Yeah, I mean, and I think if it wasn't for the fact
slow.
that I think if it wasn't for the fact that we paid $80 million for Harry Maguire, Lindelof would probably get that chance of being paired with Bailly or Axel, which is so. Let's skip ahead here and actually talk about good and bad players. Let's talk about our center back pairing. Who do you think is our best center back pairing? Regardless of who's been playing and injuries and all that, who would you start?
I was excited to see Harry Maguire and Axel Tuanzebe after the PSG game.
Yes,
Axel was amazing. I know. I was just
great
like,
tackle.
oh, there it is. He was. I mean, he shut down Mbappe. He could, with pace, he could stay with him. It was very impressive. And then it seemed like he didn't get any more chances. And
it's strange he can't sniff the field again. That's not a weird Ole.
He's on the bench. He's on the bench every game, but he'll come in maybe the last couple minutes if we need to, strengthen a lead. And they'll take off a midfielder and put him in for an extra center back. But whenever we do that, we still get scored on last minute of the game. It's like
there was a game where you came in as a CDM. I can't remember which game it was recently. It was where he subbed in. I thought it was a third center back, like you're saying, but I think he actually played a defensive mid. I think it was either Fred or somebody he came in for, and I thought he did a really good job at that. I think that's kind of where I would go. I mean, I like him and Eric Bailly. Eric just tends to make a bonehead move once every game.
Yeah, you feel like he's got it in him, right?
Yeah, where like the handball with Fred, where Fred's like,
silly,
Fred kicks him the ball, and Eric's like, kick it over there, and he's like, here, he hits my arm.
Yeah. Silly things like that.
He just has some rough
I feel like
timing
he's got that in him. But then he's also got like he does crazy things. He'll do like reverse step overs in the box.
Yes. In the most recent game he did that.
I'm like, whoa, what are you doing? And it usually turns out, but it kind of, your heart goes like this, like, oh man. And then when you pair that with Dean Henderson in the back, I mean, none of our goalies are necessarily great with their feet.
Yeah.
Like they're not, Ederson or Liverpool's what's his name, Allison. Like they're not real great with their feet. Although Allison hasn't been great with his feet recently either. He's had a terrible time of it. But like when we're playing back there and then Bailly's really comfortable passing it back to the goalies all the time, I'm like, ooh.
I like Dean Henderson though with playing with his feet. I mean, I see what you're saying. But I think it's if we're going to play out of the back, first of all,
that might just be me as an old school soccer person.
That throw to Luke Shaw that got us a goal against City was beautiful though. I mean, I rewatched that play at least 3 times, and let's talk about how great Luke Shaw's been. I mean,
oh jeez, best left back in the league right now.
And in terms of assists and everything else he's providing,
I don't know
he
that
woke up when Alex Telles came on.
I don't know that there's anybody to even compete with him as the best left back in the league right now. I mean, you look at City; their left backs aren't necessarily special. They just get tons of time on the ball.
Yeah,
because everybody else is taking all of the attention. Maybe Liverpool's left back. Robertson.
Yeah, I was going to say
he's a young buck, and he's pretty good, but he doesn't have the stats. He doesn't.
What side is Alexander-Arnold on? Is he a right side?
You know what? I can't remember if he's right or left, but I know they have two. Alexander or whatever his name is. He's not Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Alexander-Arnold and Robertson.
66.
Yeah, those
crazy numbers.
He's good.
He's good. Yeah.
And I think that's what for English fullbacks. That's what everybody's kind of using him as the role to be at this point.
But if he can play left back. He's not left-footed.
Correct.
So if he's playing left back for Liverpool, play him at right back for England, and you got 2 hell good outside backs. Now that's assuming that they want to play with 4 in the back. But Luke Shaw has been one of our best players. I mean, It's between him and it's between Bruno Fernandes. But,
Which is strange for like to have a fullback play the type of role.
well,
because
that's his lot.
Yeah,
isn't it?
I mean, but like we brought Alex Telles in, and I was really hyped for Alex Telles because we needed a good crossing guy that put balls in the box, and it seemed like he was going to be that guy.
He never does it.
Yeah, he never does. Well,
But you know why he doesn't do it?
because we don't have guys that can
There's
put it
nobody
in.
to cross it
That's
to.
right.
We have a bunch of Lilliputians playing up there.
Yes, we don't have any big guys, especially with Cavani. Now Cavani's hurt.
Even when Cavani played, we didn't cross the ball into him.
Well, now he doesn't want to be here anymore. He's already made his stake to be going back to South America. So I don't know what that's a bad thing.
That's not a good look to bring in a player. He has some success, and then they quickly want to leave. I mean, that could be a cultural thing. I mean, I know that he had a rough time when he came to England.
He did get fined for
He got
making
fined for
racist remarks.
a three-game ban for calling one of his buddies Negrito.
Yeah, I saw that. That was a little
Which,
sketchy.
okay, look, I'm not from Uruguay or whatever, but apparently that's like really common and like a term of endearment or whatever. But like, damn, that's pretty culturally insensitive of the FA to just be like, we're offended by your culture. We suspend you for 3 games.
He hasn't had a lot of great luck living in England. You know, I'm sure with the weather being it rains all the time too. He's probably not.
Where was he
loving it.
before? He was in Napoli.
Yeah.
Does Napoli have great weather? I don't know.
No, not at all.
I wouldn't imagine that Italy is.
Well, Italy's probably
totally
warmer.
different.
Italy's probably warmer. I think. I mean, he was in PSG for a little while. I mean, Paris is
Paris
probably
is
okay.
probably better.
I mean, I'm not an England
None of them are
aficionado,
Uruguay.
but it seems like the weather's, kind of cold and rainy from all sides. So
Yeah, isn't that amazing though? Like, I could be watching a game for an hour, and then they do like a close up, and then I realize it's pouring down
Yes.
rain.
I
I
know
haven't
exactly
even
what you're
noticed. I haven't even noticed it yet.
They do a zoom in and you just see the water. Like, wow, I can't tell from the lighting there, but man, it is really,
not a
really
single
bad.
person is even like no umbrellas, nothing. Like they're just like sitting there in the rain.
Well, you
playing
used to
soccer.
play. I mean, you played in college, so I was going to say, like,
Yeah.
did you ever have games where you were playing in weather like that?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And it affected me, like, and it affected the game. Like soccer, like it made soccer almost hard to play because of the rain or whatever. But they're just used to it, you know.
It's
like
gotta be
we would flop on our 6 studs, our metal 6 studs in college, and then we would just keep playing, and it would be a muddy mess of muck and puddles and nastiness. Now, granted, they're playing on some of the best.
Yeah, their pitches,
in
the pitch
the
they've got
world.
is nice. That when they
So,
slide tackle, they're going another 10 yards afterwards.
It can rain on those things all day, and it's fine. It's got good drainage and whatever. And the fields I was playing on were like cow fields compared to what they're playing on. So, but yeah, I played in some games that were like that. My freshman year, we had a game called at halftime for fog.
Really?
The fog was so bad you couldn't stand at half field and you couldn't see the goal. So like, if you were a defender and the ball was forward, you had no idea what was going on until it was like at half field. It was crazy.
That makes playing in a windy day seem like nothing around here.
Yeah. No, wind is easy compared to fog and rain, I think. But
So going back to the subject on players, I mean, let's look at goalkeeper. Who do you like right now moving forward? Or do you think we should scrap both and get somebody else in, as there's rumors of?
I don't. Everybody keeps talking about like Oblak, or I think it is Oblak or something like that. I think he plays for Atletico Madrid.
That was one of the guys I heard. There's a
keep
recent
seeing that.
story of there's somebody else that's now out there. Oh, Donnarumma, actually the one
Yeah,
we
I've
just
heard that
played
too.
against. And
He's huge.
He's a giant out there.
He doesn't look that big when you're just watching the game, and then like whenever there's a corner kick and you see, and he's just like, he looks like a giant. It's crazy. But
So there was a shot that Martial took off a half turn, and I remember it was actually a decent shot for him, which.
I don't know if it was going in or not.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, he still
But
stopped it with his big paw,
he just-
but I don't think he needed to. It was already probably over
That
the
was
post.
the only attack close to scoring that we had, other than
Besides the Dan James,
other than
open
the Dan
goal
James,
miss.
and then the worst miss of the century by
Harry,
Harry Maguire. But like, as far as like creating chances, that was all that Martial was able to create the entire game. The first half. They pulled him off at half, put in Ahmad. I guess is that what we're gonna call him, Ahmad, or is it Diallo?
I call him Amad Diallo. I'm excited to see the younger players play. Like, let's talk about that. Why are we having such a hard time creating chances?
That's a good question.
It's been miserable at times.
We stalled.
Last summer we were great.
We're really good at the final third, middle third, like getting the ball into a dangerous spot in the attacking third, and then from that point it stalls. And the reason that it stalls is because there's no movement. And I commented to you about this when we were talking yesterday, but like we'll get the ball, we try to, instead of taking goal kicks like old school where they kick them as far as they can and then try to win the second ball or whatever, we now try to pass out of the back. We try to Barcelona it, Man City it, and whenever we can manage to actually get the ball in the attacking third, these players don't have time to wait for people to be moving and whatever. It has to be happening as they're receiving the ball and they're turning it. And so Bruno Fernandes is getting the ball. He's doing great things with the ball, and he's tricky and slippery, and he finally finds a way to get past that CDM on the other team. He looks up, and he sees nothing. All he sees are standing players, which means he has to play a pin-perfect ball over the top that doesn't run out, doesn't go out of bounds.
And we don't have numbers most of the time either because of that.
Even if we get that ball, then everybody has to then come up the field, and we're not very great at crossing the ball a lot of times. So then we're going to give the ball away. We're countered immediately. So we're setting ourselves up for counters.
But I think we're so afraid of getting countered because the formation we play
with
two
ball.
sixes. Yeah, it's like we've got two holding mids.
Our outside backs and outside mids get the ball way up here, and then they just pass it back, or a square ball, and then it goes back.
It's very predictable. A lot of recycling.
All it is this back and forth, and I get that. And there's a point to be made for that. You're trying to break it, defense down. You're trying to make them shift, trying to find gaps. I mean, it's the same as in basketball or any sport. They're basically zonally defending. Make the zone move, find the gap, penetrate the gaps. And the only way that we ever get any joy going forward is when Bruno Fernandes or Martial or Rashford do these little tiny give and goes in tight ass
combination play,
and then we
between
get
the lines.
lucky. We get super lucky. The ball bouncing off of shins and defenders, and it might pop out, and then we might be able to get a shot at goal. And that's really all that we create. We don't, and so I feel like it's kind of discombobulated about how we're supposed to be going forward. That's the coaching staff. I'm sure they have a philosophy and a way that they're training them to do things, but I don't see like there's much of a plan there, which is kind of worrisome because I don't.
Very redundant for sure.
I don't enjoy watching.
Have a lot of
creativity.
times.
Dude,
and this is one of the things I was going to ask. Like when it comes to our attacking players, whether it's wings, forwards, attacking mids. I feel like when they were younger, they were more risk averse. They were better at taking on players. You look at Rashford's first year, Martial's first year when Louis was here, and not to say that was a very attacking team, but they did more.
They were our attack.
Yeah, they were our attack. Yeah, I mean that was when Wayne Rooney was on the brink of retirement,
he was playing center mid and he hated it.
Yeah.
And we had Rashford and Martial and just these young players that were our forwards, right? And that's all they know. That's all they knew. Think about Mason Greenwood. He comes in, all he does, get the ball, run at people. He's got 2 great feet. He can shoot.
Well, I'd like to see more of him. In fact, I think
he's been one of our worst players. He loses the ball every time he touches it. And Rashford went through a period where he was the same way, right? Like his first season, he comes in, he scores 10 goals, and then the start of the next season, he was the same way.
So we're talking about this. Remember when Cristiano came on? And I was watching film about this for his first year, and I mean he was one of the biggest flair players back then, and he got fouled a lot. It took him a little while to adjust, but one of the biggest things is he figured out how to play within the style of play. He did get fouled a lot, and he held on to the ball
fine because he could also take the best free kicks.
Yeah, I mean there was a lot of things going for him, but one of the biggest things was he could burn guys left and right, and it eventually paid off. And I think Mason Greenwood has that potential. I think Diallo does. I like Shola. I mean, the new kid, I don't know how he pronounces it. It feels like Shore Tire, but I know that's not
Shortiri or something like that. I heard somebody say it the correct way. It looks like Shore Tire, which is fine.
And that's the other thing. How much do we care about the Europa League at this point? We're talking about that as well.
Yeah. Look, I think it's important to try to get Ole a trophy. Just for his pride.
Yeah.
And because that's kind of what he did when he was at Man United. as a player. He won trophies. Like that's now. Granted, he wasn't the only reason we won trophies, but he was a part of those squads, like some of our best squads of all time. And '98 Champions League and just some of the.
He was a super sub. Back then. Yeah.
But he wasn't. He was a great role player. He would be a starter on 75% of the EPL teams at the time. And he was willing to play the role of super sub and be on a great team and be part of something that was historical, the treble. So he needs to win a trophy. So